Let's start at the beginning. It says that there is no origination, no creation of the universe, no destruction, no cessation of the universe. Na utpatti, na nirodha, na cha utpatti. What does that mean? We will approach it in different ways in Advaita. Let's take them one by one. Let's take a simple example, which I've used often. From a clay, a potter fashions a pot, makes a pot, right? So our normal way of saying this is that the potter produced a pot. But if you examine the pot, what do you find? When you touch it, you find you are touching clay. When you see at the top, it is clay. When you see the bottom, it is clay. Inside, it is clay. Outside, it is clay. When you weigh it, it is the weight of the clay. I mean, you might say there's water there and other things there also, but fine. In principle, it's the weight of the clay. The substance is the clay. It was clay to begin with, it's still clay. What has changed is a form. It's a new form which has emerged. What has changed is a name. Earlier you called it a lump of clay. Now you call it a pot. What has changed is the use. You couldn't store water in a lump of clay. Now you can put water or milk in the pot. Name has changed, form has changed, use has changed. Nama rupa vyavahara in Sanskrit. But the substance, the reality is still the same. If you are not convinced, ask yourself the question. Suppose I take the clay away. You say that a pot has been produced. I say, okay, keep the pot, give my clay back. Keep the pot, keep your pot, give my clay back. You cannot do that. There's this joke. A scientist goes to a philosopher and says that you don't need God anymore. We have produced life in our laboratory. And the philosopher says, really? Let's show me. And the scientist says, come to my lab, I'll show you. First you take a little bit of clay, a little bit of earth. And the philosopher says, get your own earth first. God made that earth. So if I ask for the clay back, you'll have no pot at all. Now, can we say that no real second thing has been produced? The first thing is the clay. Apart from the first thing, the clay, there is no real second thing which has been produced. Though the name has changed, though the form has changed, though I admit, though the use has changed. But substantially speaking, there is no new thing which has been created. The thing, the substance, the reality is still the same. In the same way, Advaita says, Sat, pure being, existence itself, with different names and forms, appears as this samsara. When the samsara appears, when we see this samsara, then, just like the production of the pot, you cannot say a new thing has been created. It is that being itself, Sat itself, existence itself, that isness itself, which manifests now as planets and stars and quarks and protons, as whales and human beings. All of these are names and forms, a network of names and forms drawn upon that primal isness, the being. Sat. Sat means pure being. That pure being you are. The Upanishad says, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. You always were that, you are that, and you will continue to be that. Maya just draws a network of names and forms over you, and including this particular body and mind, and we say, I am this body and mind. Here is a universe that has been created. But as far as the substance, the reality is concerned, it's still that primal isness, Sat. Another way of understanding this is, in a material world, the matter is, the clay for example, is shaped into a pot. But when you come to your inner world, the world of consciousness, of awareness, consciousness does not have to be shaped into something. Things just appear in your consciousness. For example, when the classic example in which a man mistakes a rope to be a snake. In a darkness, he sees something and thinks, it's a rope actually, but he doesn't know it's a rope. He thinks by mistake that it is a snake. All right? And later he realizes it's not a snake. It was my mistake, it's a rope. Now let me ask you the question. Was the snake born? Did it emerge from an egg? Did it wriggle on top of the rope? And when you saw that it's a rope, did it die and it had to be buried or something? No. The snake, you will say, no, the snake was never born. It was not created. It was not produced. It did not die. Rather, it appeared, and that too by mistake. And once the mistake was corrected, it disappeared. The claim in Advaita Vedanta is this entire universe which we are experiencing. How do we experience it? Waker's world, this one. The dreamer's world, when you sleep and dream. And the deep sleep darkness. These are the three types of experiences which we have, variations. All of them appear and disappear like the snake in the rope. They appear and disappear not on a rope, on you, the consciousness. That consciousness is a turiyam. Can you really say, just like the snake was never born really, never died really, this universe which you experience, you are experiencing it in your consciousness. In your consciousness, no universe is born. It appears. No universe is produced. No universe actually evolves there. It appears, it is experienced, it disappears. Do you see now how it begins to make sense when Gaudapada says there is no origination, there is no cessation of the universe? This play of consciousness and matter, it's very interesting if you take the different points of view. Quickly, let's take the material. I'll go through the entire range of views you get in Indian philosophy. The materialist point of view, which is of course very popular. It's the most popular point of view at that time in ancient India and today in 21st century in Manhattan too. What is the materialist point of view? Consciousness is produced out of matter. So matter and energy and all, they evolve into living matter, bodies, into nervous systems and brains, and somehow mind and consciousness are produced by the brains and nervous systems. So consciousness emerges out of matter. This is the materialist point of view. In ancient India, these people were called Charvakas. The materialist point of view is consciousness, mind, consciousness, awareness, sentience. These are epiphenomena. They, like you burn a candle and light and heat emerges from that. Similarly, when the biochemical reactions are going on in the body and the brain, consciousness somehow, the operative word is somehow. Till today, the doctors, neuroscientists, nobody knows how. They're working hard on it. And they've called it the hard problem of consciousness. I often mention this. David Chalmers here, who is in NYU, the Mind, Brain, Science, Consciousness unit, he coined the term, the hard problem of consciousness. How can an objective piece of matter, the brain, nervous system, how can it generate a completely different thing called a subjective first-person experience? We don't know. We just don't know. How does mind emerge out of matter? There's an old joke in philosophy classes when they talk about mind-matter dualism. What is mind? No matter. What is matter? Never mind. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. It's an old joke. But it goes to the heart of the problem. Now they have called it the hard problem of consciousness, and if you Google it, it's all over. There are in different branches, psychologists, philosophers, computer scientists, neuroscientists, linguists. They're all trying to understand and crack this hard problem of consciousness. How can matter give rise to consciousness? But that's the view of the materialist. Because matter is the ultimate reality, so if there is something called consciousness, it must arise out of matter. There's no other way. We will not consider any other alternative. That's one point of view. In India, it was called the Charvaka point of view. The second point of view is just the opposite. It's the point of view of religion, of theistic religion. In Hinduism, when you talk about God creating the universe, so a universe is created. A universe is produced, it exists and is destroyed. And that's what God is supposed to do. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. In Sanskrit, God projects, not actually creates, but projects the universe, maintains the universe, and reabsorbs the universe at the end of the cosmic cycle. So, depending upon your choice of deity, you can say Vishnu does it, or Shiva does it, or the Divine Mother Kali or Durga does it. Or the same idea is there in the theistic religions, in Christianity, in Islam, in Judaism. God creates the universe. Is the universe created? Yes, very much so. Where is it created from? God, is God consciousness? Yes, definitely. Whatever your idea of God, in whichever religion, nobody will say God is a block of stone. They'll say God is consciousness, God is sentient. So, the material universe, matter, time, space, energy, emerges out of consciousness. If you take the principle behind it, this is just the opposite of the materialist approach, Charvaka. So the theistic approach, whether in Hinduism or in any other theistic religion, that matter emerges out of consciousness. Second approach. Third approach is the eternal duality of consciousness and matter. This is held by Sankhya philosophy, by Yoga philosophy, by Jaina philosophy. They say neither emerges out of the other. Consciousness is eternal. Matter, space, time, energy, eternal. So this time, space, matter, energy, they lump it together and give it one word, Prakriti, nature. Prakriti, that's the Sanskrit word for nature. Nature is eternal, it is not produced from something else. And what about consciousness? Consciousness is also a fundamental reality. It coexists with nature like two parallel lines. Consciousness, Sanskrit word Purusha, nature, Sanskrit word Prakriti. They eternally coexist. Neither one produces the other. And they interact. The interaction of consciousness and nature is samsara. If that sounds too abstract, it's not at all abstract. It's very much concrete for us. Right now, what you consider yourself to be right now, is an interaction of nature and consciousness, Prakriti and Purusha. You, the sentient being, with this body provided to you by nature, with this mind provided to you by nature, you are one package, but with two components, Purusha, Prakriti. And this is samsara. So this parallel coexistence of consciousness and matter and energy and time and space, this is the view of Sankhya, Yoga philosophy, Patanjali Yoga philosophy, Jaina philosophy. Next comes the Buddhist. I'm taking one point of view, the Tibetan Buddhist, the Mahayana point of view, specifically Madhyamaka and Vijnanavada point of view. What they say is, yes, matter, nature and the objective universe and the subjective consciousness, the two, the self and the not self, both are empty. They are neither produced from each other, nor are they continuing parallelly with each other. The real nature of both is emptiness, shunyata. They have terms for that. Dharma shunyata, by which they mean the emptiness of the objective universe. And Pudgala Nairatmya, Dharma Nairatmya and Pudgala Nairatmya. Nairatmya means the self, non-self nature. The self itself is, if you analyze it, it's revealed as empty. There is no such thing as the self. And what about the external universe? No such thing as the external universe. So both consciousness and matter are revealed to be empty, shunya. That is the Buddhist approach. And if anybody is philosophically trained, yes, I am oversimplifying a little bit. I can see if a philosopher might be rolling his eyes. But for this purpose, it will bring out what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to just simplify and put the different points of view in one framework. Then comes the non-dualist framework, which we are talking about, where consciousness alone is the reality, and that which we take to be the non-conscious, matter, time, space, bodies, our samsara, this world, these are appearances in consciousness, not apart from consciousness. Just like a dream, when you go to sleep and dream, All the things that you see in the dream have no existence apart from your own mind. In the same way, this entire universe which we experience has no existence apart from consciousness. Non-dual. The consciousness is non-dual, meaning there is no second thing apart from consciousness. Non-dual, not two. So there is no second thing apart from consciousness. If this non-dual consciousness is somehow regarded as the other, as a non-dual reality, then you get Kashmiri Shaivism, which talks about the Parama Shiva, Prakasha Vimarsha Swarupa, of the nature of light, of consciousness, Prakasha, light-like consciousness, and reflectivity, self-awareness, Prakasha Vimarsha Swarupa. Of course, in Kashmiri Shaivism also, Shiva is your real nature, but that's not so stressed so much as the Shiva nature is stressed. Or you can get another variety of non-dualism, which is what we are talking about, which is what Gaudapada is talking about. You are that non-dual reality. You are that consciousness, that Turiya. In you, the consciousness, the entire universe is an appearance, not apart from you, not a second thing apart from you. Hence, you are that non-dual consciousness, Turiyam. You are the universe. Whatever you are experiencing right now, it's you, the consciousness. Both of these statements are true. Either I am all of this, or I am none of this. When we are in ignorance, when we are not aware of our real nature, the sign of ignorance is that I say, I am this, and nothing apart from this. This is me, and that's not me. The enlightened person would say it is true to say, I am all of this, or I am none of this. To get stuck in a particular body, mind, and personality, that's ignorance. You step back from a particular body, mind, and personality into the background consciousness, the Turiyam, that's enlightenment. So from this point of view, the universe is not produced. It is not destroyed. It is nothing other than you. It appears in you, it shines in you, and it disappears within you. Na baddhaha. There is no one who is bound. I am bound. By every account, I am this person, I am bound by the body, I am born, I am aging, I am subject to disease, ill health, I am subject to death, I am subject to 1,000 disappointments and hurts. I am bound on all sides. I have so many desires, only a fraction of which I can fulfill. And even if I fulfill them, I do not get the satisfaction I was expecting. I am bound and limited on all sides. How can you say I am not bound? Gaudapada boldly says, you never were bound. You are not bound, you never were bound, neither can you ever be bound. How is that possible? He says, just take a look at the things which you say bind you. Are you bound by the body? Are you not the consciousness which witnessed the little baby's body, the child's body, the teenager's body, the young person's body, the middle-aged person's body, the old person's body? The body keeps on changing. Can you hold on to anything? Can you hold on to a particular age? Is that I want to hold on to, what do they say? Forever 16. I want to hold on to that, forever 16. Or forever, some word, forever 21 or something like that. Forever 21. Oh. It is there. Is it a clothing store or something? Yes, it's a clothing store. So I want to hold on to that. Gaudapada says, neither can you hold on to that, nor can that hold on to you. It came and went. You cannot hold on to it. With whatever amount of yoga and gluten-free you do, it will still go. It comes and goes. Body is old and diseased and infirm. I'm suffering. I don't want this. Don't worry. It will not stay. It will go one day. It will not hold on to you either. Neither the body holds on to you, nor you hold on to the body. The mind, I am the mind, right? No, not really. How many times the mind has woken up in the morning? How many times the mind dreamt? How many times the mind slept? And you are the witness of all of them. The way they teach is very interesting. I'll give you, it doesn't have the same force in English maybe, but I'll still try it. It's very simple, almost homely, but the truths are very profound. The teacher is saying, the Vedanta teacher, are you happy? Tell me, are you happy or are you sad? He says, sometimes I'm happy. Always happy? No, sometimes I'm sad. And the teacher said, how is that possible? How can you be two things? So what do you mean? Follow this carefully. It might sound simplistic, but it's very profound. How can you be two things? Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. The teacher actually said in Hindi, Kabhi main gaay, kabhi gadha. How is that possible? Sometimes I'm a cow, sometimes I'm a donkey. And then we say, oh, I see what you mean, teacher. Oh, right. And in that sense, what I meant was, not that sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, but sometimes there is a feeling of happiness, sometimes there's a feeling of sadness. Now we come to the point. So sometimes there's a feeling of happiness and you own it and you say, I am happy. Sometimes there's a feeling of sadness which arises in you, the same awareness. And you own it and you say, I am sad. And yet, you cannot be both. You are that which was there before the happy feeling came. You are that which was